Record. There we go. We're recording now. I'll jump on board with you. But yeah.
What do you like your brake bias? What have you had your brake bias set at?
So I haven't changed it from standard on this track so far. I do normally go a couple of clicks rearward, but I'm on 42.1%, which I believe is just standard.
Yeah, I'm on standard as well, and I haven't noticed myself locking up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
I do quite often go rearward because the standard setups tend to be a little bit understeer biased. Like they like you to lock the fronts before you lock the rears because it's like the safer way. But I like to have it a little bit more towards the rear. But I haven't tried that here yet, so I think standard is fine. But if you do find you're locking the fronts a bit too much, we'll just go rearward a little bit. That looked like a pretty damn good line into there, so if you repeat that each time, that'll be good.
now, when I'm warming things up, normally I'm flat out here. When I'm warming things up, I find that I usually have to lift a little bit. I don't know if that's just in my mind or if that's actually...
No, it's definitely not in your mind. No, the tyres are cold. I don't think this car has tyre blankets. So the tyres are... If it does, they're not set to the hottest temperature because it does take me a lap or two before I'm happy with the temperature. But at the same time, you really don't want to overdrive it and overheat them. Because otherwise you have like a two-corner window where they're at their optimum, and then they're the other direction, they're too hot. So I try and bring them in gradually. So just a fast but calm outlap, so that you don't arrive on a flying lap with tyres that are kind of all over the place and too hot. But yeah, you just don't want any big slides.
I found if you fuck these tires up, they will be absolute glass. Like,
yeah, that's correct. Right, I'm interested to see this first corner. Wow, that was maybe too much. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm gonna really exaggerate it. It was too much there. Yeah, I did the same thing I've been doing there. I got on the... I did that double brake thing again.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you find yourself doing that and you still make the corner easily, next time just move your braking point 2 or 3 meters later. You just creep it forward, and then if you find you're missing the corner, bring it back another meter or so. But another really good apex of that hairpin.
A little too greedy.
This car is so easy to go into corners a little too fast, isn't it? There's just no forgiveness at all.
Yeah, which I like about it, right? I mean, it's kind of what makes it driving it fun. But
yeah, for sure.
I had just had the tires hot, right? And that was normally where I would brake.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is a significant bounce across that curb. What I need to see is whether or not you can carry the same speed across that as you could if you didn't use the curb at all. Because it's definitely a shorter distance, but I need to know if it's actually gaining you time or whether you're sacrificing in one area to gain in another. Like you're sacrificing a bit of apex speed in order to take that shorter line. Let's see. We'll try and just use it at a slightly higher speed on the next lap. That's more like it. Okay, so I've already seen a couple of things that we're definitely going to talk about, but
Okay.
really like nice, easy things to implement. So this is good. So this time, just try and carry a little bit more speed through the apex of turn 1, because it felt a little bit slow through that on the last lap. Now, it might be that it's impossible to carry the speed we want to carry whilst taking that line, because you might run out of exit distance. So that 48.7 was only 2 tenths away from your best ever, so that's good. And there's bucket loads of time we're going to find in that second section.
Yeah. I like lost the rear there for a second. So
yeah, that's fine. Don't worry.
Man,
so, go on.
Panorama was a fun, but boy, was it a...
That's alright, this was never going to be the best lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you enjoy Bathurst?
It was a crash fest, yeah.
Yeah, that's what that place is like.
Which is too bad because it's a great track.
Okay, this time on the exit of this corner, don't work quite as hard to pinch it to the left. So you let it flow out a little bit wide here, but now try and open up this one. That's nice. That's a little bit better. So it looked like you were turning in a bit too early into this right-hander on the previous lap. So you're having to really slow it down to make it. I'll show you when we do a replay comparison, but there's a couple of ways of making that left-right section a slight easier job for you. And it'll be faster as well. These corners really flow into one another, so getting one of them slightly wrong really impacts the rest of them. Okay, so we'll try this one more time using your clipping that big curb line. Do you get an off track for going that wide, or are you okay?
No, I did not get an off track.
So you've managed to quite consistently make it through there a few times. So we've got some good data on what that version's like. We'll compare that to the non-sausage curb line after this.
Okay.
I've got a feeling because of the angle you have to take to do that sausage curb line, I think you run out of exit. I think you have to go slower to make it work. But we'll find out for sure in a minute.
So to get these really, really aggressive braking zones done, I'm kind of pumping the brakes like I would in like an old truck.
Okay, so I mean you've got no ABS, so you're probably trying to just avoid locking up. But yeah, you shouldn't have to pump unless you are on the brink of locking up.
Okay, so it's I probably could quit doing that and just take a steadier brake.
Okay, so everything was great about that section, except there was a point where we needed to lift off in anticipation of the right-hander getting tighter. So you see, you know when you went through it, you kind of went deep and you had to back off quite late in the corner. We're going to just do that on purpose earlier, and then you'll be able to drive through that fast right-hander on throttle, rather than getting midway through the corner and going, oh crap, and having to back out then. So we're going to just anticipate the fact that you're about to go into a corner and back off just before you get into it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so this time I'm going to try to not hit the...
Yeah, see if you can just delay the turn in slightly, but still keep the speed up. So hit the blue bit of the curb. But you should then be angled out of the corner a bit easier. So you're kind of angled down the track a bit more.
Yeah.
So you should be able to commit to an earlier throttle, and I imagine you can gain down this straight as a consequence.
Not when you do that.
This has been good though. You've done a 47, so you've already gone quicker than your best time on your previous data. It's just having the pressure of me watching you. It's making you do it more perfectly. And that's really good. Your slow apex there is really good. Though we could have let it rotate a fraction more because you had to kind of back out on the exit curb. So you might want to be even more patient at the apex there next time, just so you can get on the gas earlier. But that was a good effort. So remember to almost let it release here. Maybe not quite that far, but you get the idea. And just try and open this one up. Lift before you get into the corner, and then you can drive on the gas through the middle of it. And there will be quite a big time gain when we nail that.
Oops.
Just going to have a little look at how many laps we've done. Maybe let's do one more flying lap after this one, just because this wasn't super representative. But we'll give it a pause after this and check out whatever the best one is. And just try again for me using the non-sausage curb line through turn 1. It's purely like, it's just like a delay on the turn in slightly. You did it perfectly on that last lap. Still try and use the blue curb at the apex, but it should give you the ability to get on throttle earlier, like now. Because you're not having to turn away from the barrier. You're already facing down the track a bit, so... And as you know, I'm always normally an advocate for using more curb. It's just, if the compromise makes it worse for the exit, then I'm willing to use a bit less.
Well, I'm 0.12 up, so on this lap, which I think may have something to do with that line.
Okay.
So I was actually down when through the line. I was down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the new lap started that I was up, but now I'm up quite a bit. I'm up by 0.6 right now.
Okay, we'll back to back your laps on top of each other after you finish this one. Nice. Remember to lift in anticipation of this right. We still went a little bit deep before we lifted, so we'll just go even earlier with the lift next time.
The track temp's increasing. It's now 34 Celsius.
Nicely handled through there. That could have been sketchy, but you just got off the gas in time.
I think I might be downshifting a little early there.
Okay.
Because I feel like that curve that I'm going slow through there, and I don't know.
Okay, so we'll just get this lap complete, and then you can hop out of the car, and we'll have another little look through it.
Okay.
But good job. That was good. A real good first run. And even though some of the second half of the lap wasn't perfect, that was your best. So if you just stop it anywhere on track, and you can hop out, and we'll just look back at that one. And whilst your data's uploading, I'll just watch that lap back. So just let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
Okay, so turn 1, you executed that really, really nicely. So that looks very similar to mine there. If there's any difference, maybe my car's angled a fraction further right, but it's basically negligible. So the main thing is, doing this, you're just facing that direction a bit more, whereas when you're on your lap where you use the orange, you're kind of facing over here somewhere, and so you've got more rotation to still do. And although you've gone a shorter line, you end up out really struggling not to go across the back of that curb and getting an off track or a slowdown.
Yeah.
This way, you're just able to. It's basically just taking a later apex, but it's such a sharp, defined apex. Just when you hit it is going to really alter the angle. If you're going for the orange bit, if you're trying to cut across the orange bit, you're having to go in so much more shallow. But if you try and cut back across it, almost like over the tip of the blue and white there, it just means that you're facing down the next straight. And that just means you can get on the power like now, as opposed to having to go, oh, whoa, I'm going to go off the curb and then back on. But we'll see. I'll look at the data and we'll compare. But you executed that really well on this lap. So let's see what happened into here. Okay, I think we turn in a little early here. So you see, we peel off we want to be right on this blue and white curb. until, in fact, the black line on the floor, like the kind of the rubbered in line, is quite a good guide for this one. And you can see we're just slightly offset. So it means when you get to it, you've got to do a bit more slowing at the apex to get it rotated. So I think just slightly delay peeling off the edge here, and it'll give you more time to brake in a dead straight line, which means you can brake later because the tyres aren't going to try and lock up as easy. So by delaying that turn, you're giving yourself a deeper brake potential. And then it'll also just be an easier rotation when you get in. But definitely
that's a bit of a habit of mine, is peeling away from that.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about it before, but it's not just you. It's a very common habit. But
yeah.
I'll just keep on your case about it. But anyway, you made the most of it, so you did well. This is nice. Just a little bit of throttle control here is really good. Like, obviously, perfect line through there. That's all really good. So let's just remember what happened into the hairpin here. Just look from behind. Maybe very, very slightly we peeled off the edge, but not bad at all. I think the main thing here, and I know you can't hear it. No, that was actually a really good one. You really, really nailed it that time. And the difference was you were extremely patient with the gas. You didn't try and get back on now. You waited, now. You waited until the car was actually at an angle where you weren't going to have to back off again. You know, if you were to get on the power now, you're going to get to the exit curb and go, oh crap, got to get off the gas and then back on. But this time you waited in the middle, let the car pivot, and then got on the gas, and it's just a huge time gain when you do that. So this is really good. The first sector of this lap, the first half, has been great. So this is where I think we've got some time we can still find. So line, awesome. That will look good on the way in there. Only negative here comes, if I play it on slow-mo, now. You see we crank on that extra lock? So at this very point here, I want you to be letting the car flow a little bit wide. Not all the way out to the green and the blue and the white, but just letting it flow slightly wide. See how you do quite a big rotation now. It's like, it's just, you're doing it all here, where you've actually got time. If you just sweep slightly wider, you've got time to flow back to the left side. You don't have to get left immediately. You can sacrifice a little bit of distance, as in you can travel a further distance, because it just lets you get on the gas earlier and will sweep you around. I'm going to show you a replay of mine through here just to show you what I mean. But then you do get to the left, fine. I think we turn in a tiny bit early, but the main thing is we lifted a little bit late. So I know you can't hear it. You lifted here, and you see we're now quite dramatically, we want to be going around this where my cursor is, and when we've got no choice, you're like, whoa, understeering wide, because you're lifting at this point, and next time
if I would turn it any harder, I'd spin it.
Yeah, and I want you to lift now. So in between the two is where we want to lift next time. So you know it's about to get tight, so you can anticipate it, kind of go to half throttle or maybe a full lift, and then just gradually back on. And that'll allow you, I can still hear you're on throttle right now when I play it, and I would want to be off, letting the car turn in, so that you can be on throttle smoothly all the way around this inside curb, and then blast off towards the, in fact I'll go back in the cockpit, because it's obviously a more realistic view for you there.
So like here.
So we'd be off the throttle, and actually positioned slightly left. So we'll just wait a tiny bit longer on this curb, before we turn in. When I was saying open this one up, that's what I meant really. It's like just being a little bit further left here, so it just gives you an easier angle into this right. And this is all this stuff we're talking about now is why you've got this little gap here on that section of the data, because you can see where you've got this higher speed here on the approach to that corner, and then obviously you're having to have a much lower speed through the corner because you're going wider and wider. So you can see how much earlier I lift off the throttle. I'm here at 2937, and yeah, like over almost 30 meters later is where you're lifting, and therefore you're having to go a lot deeper and wider. So that's what we're going to fix there. That'll be a massive time gain, and this was on your best lap. So that, yeah, I can hear we're like driving past a corner basically. So that's fine. That's a very easy fix. It's purely lifting off earlier. That's it. And it'll make your life so much easier. Now, what happened through here? So we've got our fast right-hander back into the stadium. I think similar, not exactly the same. I think we just went in slightly too quick. So we'll just do a little brake, little trail brake slightly earlier. That's all that is. We went in a little bit narrow as well. We went in slightly early, but
Where's your brake point there?
let's have a look. Let's have a look. I'll just flick to my lap quickly. We can have an exact look. Whilst we're on this, I'll just show you those preceding corners I was talking about. Where we just let it flow a little bit wide. See, I'm all the way out here.
Yeah.
But look how easy it is to get back across to here.
Right.
And then the lift, in fact, you can, if I go in slow-mo, you can see down here, little brake.
Yeah.
In fact, it
you're like
wasn't even a full lift.
You're like 3/4 of the way off the throttle.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah, it's more just to get some weight on the nose and keep it really balanced through there.
Okay.
But it allows me to hit that curb, whereas your car wanted to go off over the edge there.
Yeah.
It just made it slightly easier. So let's have a look at the brake point for this next one. Oh, how helpful. There's nothing around. There's no marker boards or anything. It's here. It's count the number of concrete blocks in the wall. I don't really know what to give you as a marker board there. Okay, so you've got the
just past the green.
just past the end of the green triangle there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's pretty risky as well. You know, I'm sure I probably only just make it. So, yeah, just past the end of the green is fine. Okay, whilst I've got my replay up, I'll just show you the next corner because there's also some time for us to gain in here. I think you're going in a bit too carefully into this next one. It's quite heavily banked towards the inside, so you can use that. You can go in a little bit quicker and it will hook around. So you're almost stopping it before this one, whereas I'm going a little bit later and trying to really hook into that banking on the inside, and then you can get on the power early.
Yeah, and I'm way up on that inside curb, so I'm taking that tighter too.
Yes, and I think if you have a look at the difference, in fact, let me get down to the track level. Let's go down really low. Let's go slightly higher than that. You see the angle of the floor here?
Wow.
If you're on that inside curb, you don't really get the benefit of this banking, because I want to hook around this bit. Where my cursor is here, that's where it's important to be like all four wheels on the banking, so you can drive off the corner on throttle. Whereas if I cut that curb a bit more, I've got half the car like on the flat, and it's not angled nicely into the banking, if you see what I mean. So being like that, you see that phase of the corner, it really like digs in and hooks you around.
Yeah.
So that I think is a little bit of... The entry is obviously a time gain, but also just having the ability to like drive off the corner with quite early throttle because of that banking. And then again, whilst we're on mine, I'll go back to yours in a moment. Whilst we're on mine, going all the way out to the edge here is something I think you're in the middle of the track here going into the penultimate corner. So I'll just switch back to yours. So even though that was your fastest lap, that last one, there's a bunch of low-hanging fruit we can take here, which is good. So let's just skip back to where we were. We'll do a quick recap in a moment, and then we'll look at the data for those two different styles to turn one you did. Okay, so yeah, I think we just went in a little bit too fast because you just ran out of room on the exit. So we're just going a little bit slower. But for this one, we're going to go in a little bit faster. I see we've nearly stopped the car now.
Yeah. And then
In
look
fact-
at it high up on the thing I get, yeah.
Yeah, it's too easy for you to get onto that because you've gone in so slow. You turn and the car just goes straight to the inside. If we go in a bit quicker, it won't be as easy to do it wrong, if that makes sense. Like you'll naturally just have to use the black bit, not the blue and white bit there. And again, it's weird for me to say don't use curbs because normally that's what it's all about. But just because of the shape of the track here being that kind of banked and then flat on the inside. Okay, so through here, this is all normal, this is good. It's this point here where I want you to aim for the blue and white on the outside, whereas we're going so much tighter here.
Yeah.
And then you run out of time to carry speed into here, so it just makes your apex into that penultimate corner necessarily so much slower. So that's a reasonably easy fix. By going out here, you do have to brake on your way to the edge. So I'm kind of, as I go from here to there, I'm braking towards that. Like my braking point becomes like a straight line towards that curb, and then it will hook around. And then final corner. Yeah, probably a similar thing here. You see how we exit kind of in the middle of the track? So if I go in slow-mo, you exit in the middle, and then you almost artificially turn left here to get to the left, and then turn in again. But we never really go all the way wide. And we actually want to be right out, almost riding these sausage curbs at the edge of the drag strip here. So like all the way wide onto this blue and white here, And again, that's just going to give you more room to do a quicker final corner. So just using more of the space just gives you that bit of extra speed you can carry. And again here, last corner, looks like you have to artificially turn left here to go to the edge. But if we just go faster, you'll just end up there anyway. So let's just go back to the start of that lap for a quick recap. So turn 1, if you can maximise that, even slightly later on the turn in, so you hit that blue and white at a slightly further right angle. So your wing mirror is like here rather than here. It's a tiny tweak. Just means you can get on the power earlier, but not bad at all. This, don't peel off too early, so stay alongside the blue and white curb, probably until the 50-metre board, then turn it in. Yeah, then you'll just have so much more room to turn in. This was all good. This bit was good. Hairpin was really good. The key was really getting it rotated at the apex and then getting on the gas, so that's good. This was nice. And then we've got this kind of fiddly midsection where we're saying instead of trying to hug it that tight, give yourself the freedom to just introduce the throttle and run out near the blue and white, but not onto it, because it will still swing around to this curb more easily, and then lift maybe a touch of the brakes as well. Like you saw me just kind of doing an 80% lift, maybe 90%, little nibble of the brakes just to get the weight on the nose, and then you'll be able to be much tighter, and you'll be on the gas here rather than having to get off the gas at this point. Slightly slower into this right, just so you don't have a danger of running wide on the exit, and then actually slightly quicker into here. So just gentler braking really, and a little bit of a trail brake, and then use the banking so you can really hook it round, get on the gas hard. Penultimate corner, definitely deliberately go to the edge so you get a nice line in. If you find you do that and you just understeer wide, you need to brake more on your way out to that edge, just so otherwise the front's too light when you turn in. And then final corner again, just use the track, do that nice flowing arc from the inside to the outside in that middle bit by the drag strip, just there. And that all of those things together are going to be a massive, massive time gain. That's going to be a couple of seconds. Let's just delete this data we've got, actually. So let's kill that one. And let's get your latest ones. So we've got that to compare to. Where is it? Why is it not showing? Are you out? You are out of the car?
Yeah. Yep.
Why is it not? Oh, is it this one? Why is it
No,
not
the
showing?
147.
Yeah, it's not showing on here. This is showing. This is your offline testing. That's weird. Why is it not showing any of your stuff? Oh, is it? It's here. It's because the session started earlier. That's why they weren't in order. That was confusing. It's because my session started before your offline session started, so it put it behind it.
Okay.
Right, there's that one. And let's also add the other one. I'll just make that one red, because that was your fastest. And let's just grab the other one too. We just have to remember, nope, that's not you. I need to click on the right name. So let's just make sure we choose the correct lap. So which one, was it these two you did using that line, and this 47.9, was that the one you did with the previous one?
I think so, yeah.
I think so too. Let's make that one green. So green is cutting turn. Well, we'll see on the data, won't we? We'll see on the GPS. So let's zoom in.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've changed it the wrong colour. So let's make that neon green. I'm sure I clicked neon green. Let's try one more time. Yes. Okay, so here we see the difference. Let's look. Let's zoom in. Just going to zoom into here so I can actually see. Yeah, so green is definitely where you cut the inside more. So you are. Let's zoom in on that section. You are much quicker on the way in, and then you're way slower on the way out. Like, you're quick. You're actually quicker than me on the way in, significantly, and then all of that gain you then lose on the exit. So I'm gonna say, I'm just trying to see exactly how much. So if we take it, let's take it all the way to the braking point of the next corner, because that will give us the most realistic difference. So at this point, green is up on me and red is down on me. That makes sense. And at this point, the green is nearly 1/10 and a half up, and the red is 1/10 and a bit down. And then we go up the next straight, and it's nearly crossing over. and by here, the green is further down than the red. So, and I don't think you're maximising that yet because you've just tried it a couple of times. So what that looks like to me is the not using the sausage curb overall has a benefit when you take the corner and what comes next into account. I mean, it's relatively obvious actually when you just look at how long the green is below the red. But because you're making such a big gain on the entry, it takes until the breaking point for the next corner before you've like broken even and gone ahead. But it is better. I think it'll be even better when you really maximise the throttle. Because
Now,
if you just have a look at when we're getting on the gas, you're taking the same line as me with the red, but you're waiting until all the way out here to get back on the gas. So we'll just get on throttle earlier, and that offset is going to be even greater in favour of Team Red, if that makes sense.
I wonder. I'm not going to bother. I think I'm convinced I'm off the sausage curb strategy, but I wonder would that be faster second lap of qualifying? Because the time when that crosses over is actually after the lap switches over to the next lap. Do you see what I'm saying? It ultimately compromises your next lap. But if the next lap doesn't matter,
why does it compromise your next lap?
Well,
because the start line's back here before that corner.
Oh, the start line's before that corner.
Yeah, so we're talking about turn one.
Yeah,
Okay. So the start line.
Never mind. Ignore what I'm saying then.
If the start line was halfway down this next straight, then what you'd be saying makes perfect sense. But no, the start line's before that, so the start line's back here.
Never mind that.
But no, that was definitely. I'm glad you're thinking like that though, because that's a useful way of thinking of things in lots of real racetracks and kart tracks. There's a kart track I'm currently doing a competition at, it's an indoor championship thing in the UK, and the start line is in the middle of the braking zone for turn one. So in order to get the fastest possible laps, you have to deliberately screw your next lap because otherwise you're braking for the corner to take it for the next lap, but then you give away 2/10. So that is a good way of thinking of things, but yeah, not in this case. So just do the fastest thing basically. But the main thing is we want to do this line, but get on the gas earlier. And you can still touch the sausage curb, but you don't be afraid to nibble it. You can use more than you used here. But just not, I think going fully across it is a false economy because it points you over here at this runoff and then you can't get it. You're carrying more speed, and more speed coupled with a tighter line means you just can't get it to turn. So you have to delay your throttle so long, which is what it looks like has happened here with the green. You know, you've gone into it way better, way faster, but then you come off so much slower. So yeah, that is what I think. So let's go do another run, but with those things that we just went through in mind. I'll remind you as we go around on the warm-up lap anyway. Great. Let's do it. And you'll smash that lap time. Even just delaying the throttle into that kind of right-hander after the tight left-hander, that kind of sequence halfway through the lap, just that will gain you loads of time. So.
Oh man, I was practicing last night, and my wife came downstairs, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Pete, you're wearing your fire I've got fire protective race shoes for in the real car.
Yeah,
I tend to wear them in when I'm simming because I don't know, I like things to just feel like they feel.
Yeah,
but it was definitely I know, I wear my race gloves and my shoes.
Everybody's done that. I mean, if you've got good equipment, the more realistic your equipment is. I can't remember what pedals you've got. Just remind me what you've got.
They're the nice Fanatec pedals.
Okay, yeah. So if they've got enough feel and they're sturdy enough, they're not plastic flappy ones, then I've got no problem. I've worn my boots quite a lot of times. My feet get sore if you're doing lots of laps. So same with gloves on your hands. If you've got a good enough wheel, then if it's providing enough feedback so the gloves aren't really dulling it at all, then it can stop you getting blisters of it, which is quite nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I like it to feel like it feels in the when I get into a car, right?
Yeah.
As much as possible. I mean, it does there's always going to be that offset, right, where it never feels exactly the same, but it's pretty good. I was impressed with how much Road Atlanta in the sim prepared me for Road Atlanta in real life.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Nice effort with the early lift. So the only thing to do different next time then is now you've got that early lift sorted, you can also get back on the gas a bit earlier because the car's turned well. So don't be afraid to reintroduce the throttle as well. And slightly quicker into this banked corner. Right, really think of it being banked. And so you can go in just that little bit faster. And on the exit of this right-hander, make sure we use all the track, so all the way wide. And then brake to get the nose in. Yeah, nice. Use all the track here as well. Nice. And again, brake to get the nose in. That's good. You've got a load of curb you can use on the exit here too. You can use that whole blue and white curb. Very good end to your warm-up lap. Really good.
Ooh.
That's all right. Maybe just a little bit too quick into that on that lap, that's all. No drama. So don't peel off the edge this time. Stay on the blue and white curb. Nicely held. I think we probably braked a little bit too late, but you made it though, so well done. Into the hairpin that's coming up. Just make sure we focus on getting the car rotated at the apex before you start getting back on the gas. So the angle is crucial. Don't be tempted to give it too much gas too soon when you're kind of going into the corner. And then very similar to what you did last time in the next complex. So get it accurately slowed for the first left, but then you can just run nice and wide on the exit of the first left with a bit of throttle. And that'll really give you a nice smooth transition over to the left, an early lift for the right, and then an early squeeze of the gas as well. So we can get even more on the gas there next time.
Oops. I'm used to being in fifth by that point.
And then, just like we were talking
that
about
was
before.
way too early. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going slightly quicker. There's quite a significant trail break into that hairpin because of that banking. And it might just take a few laps just to get used to the feel of these slightly different lines as well. Remember, there's a big exit curb you can use on the exit of the last corner. Nice.
Yeah, I think I can be more aggressive on the throttle there.
So early on the gas on the exit. Because you're able to be more accurate on the way in, you can really get on the power early on that exit. Good stuff, let's go. Nice. You did really well into here last time. That's good. You can get on the gas pretty early. Little lift, and then start to squeeze the gas early again and really go for it. Look at all that exit space you've got, so we can go even earlier on the gas there next time. Cool. Use all that exit curb if you need it. That's good. Remember to go into this corner a little bit quicker, but just a gentle trail of the brakes if you need it. Let it rotate, and then get on the gas hard on the exit. Use all the track on the exit here. Definitely more we can use next time, and here as well. Let's go. Let's do it again. Remember, into this turn one, accuracy on the entry is more important than being ballsy fast on the way in, because you're going to gain on the exit by getting on the gas early now, like at the apex, hard on the gas. But good job. That was already nearly down to your fastest lap territory, and you're just getting used to this different technique. Very tidy into there. Nice. This is looking great. Really good in the left-hander. Let's go for it. Even if you touch the curb, that's not the end of the world. Little lift, then really go for it. Use all the track on the exit. Great. And there's even more time to be had there. There's even more speed you can carry there next time. So we maybe went in a little bit too early and narrow into that fast right there. Well controlled. Remember to let it run wide on the exit of this right-hander.
Ah.
Oh, nearly. Nearly. I could almost feel that one coming. So I'll let you just turn it round. The tyres obviously won't be at their optimum, but...
Oh.
Is that okay?
Okay.
I've cleared your black flags.
Okay. I thought if I went back there, I could turn around without ruining the tires more. But I guess
No, it's fine. No, in an official session, you just get a black flag, but in this session, I'm in control, so it's fine. So obviously this one probably won't be super fast because you didn't get a chance to cross the line at a high speed, but you can still practice doing all those other corners exactly right.
Ooh. Yeah.
Do you want a fresh set of tyres?
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea.
Should we just reset and get a fresh set of tyres? I don't want to look at the data yet because you haven't had a chance to actually fully nail it yet. So, you're nearly back at your fastest lap.
Will this be... So I reset, came back to the pits, but I haven't left the car. Are these new tires, or are they not new tires?
Just hit, if you can hit request new car, that'll give you new tyres for sure. It should give you new tyres every time anyway, but just in case. And then just go again.
Request new car. Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, I mean, even on your first proper flying lap there, as in lap 2, you were only 0.2 off your best, and you're getting used to doing it a different way. And on the exit of that direction change midway through the lap, you were still giving away quite a lot of exit speed. You had so much room to play with when you left. That shows there's a load of earlier throttle we can take. You're not used to having that room to play with because normally you're out there unintentionally early. So we're going to gain chunks there still. Very accurate for an out lap. That was really good into there. Whatever you did there, just bottle that and remember it for every lap. I still reckon you can go in a tiny bit later, like 5 meters later for your turn in there, or just give you a little bit more room on the exit on that right-hander. Okay, here we go. So remember, accuracy rather than balls on the way into the first corner, but then early gas on the exit. Really go for it. So I think you could have got on the power a little bit earlier, maybe a second earlier, and still easily made that. But that still looked very good.
Oh, that was a little early. But
It's okay, you're accurate though, you're accurate. It looks nice still.
I had a little lock. I was trying a little bit of a later braking point.
Yeah, it's all right. It's easily done. It's easily done. So remember, as long as you get it turned in here, you can get on the gas early because you've got all that space to play with. Again, we've got just acres of room on the outside, so you can accelerate into that next time. You just got to do it enough times that you prove it to yourself. You know, so you know you've got that space. Remember, don't brake too early here or too hard. That's a bit more like it. Okay, let's see if we can pull that all together on this next one. So your line into turn 1 was great on that last lap. Just maximise it by getting on the power early on the exit. So get it turned in and then go. Just stamp on that power. You've got all that blue and white curb you can use. Good stuff. So remember to let it flow wide here so you can get on the power early. You still get back to the left. Well, we didn't quite manage to get back to the left that time. That's all right. Go for it. Just carry that speed on the exit. Still more. We can still use more, even though we were a bit pinched.
I don't know why I'm not doing it. I know that I can get on the power earlier, but it's just...
That was very good into there. Nice and smooth. So remember, fast entry into here, but don't get on the gas too early. Like, get it around the corner a bit, so you can then get on the gas and commit to it.
It's now 23 Celsius.
And let the car flow wide here, rather than having to force it wide. In we go. Don't let that make you turn in too late, though, for that penultimate corner. So when you've got to the edge, you can go directly into that penultimate corner. Let's go. Early power. I think you can commit even earlier to the gas there. It's just going to be about proving it to yourself. We just have to go earlier and earlier each time. Nicely held. Well done. Let's go. Okay, this is a nice lap so far, nice and tidy. It's going to be about maximising this next bit. So once we go into the tight left, let it flow wide, but don't forget to get back over to the left before the following corner. So in we go, a little bit of gas, flow, but get over to the left as well at the same time. That's the tricky part, because you've got that throttle and the steering at the same time. You just have to be super smooth as you get on the gas, that's all. That's purely a rate of throttle pedal increase there.
Yeah, I was half a second up too, which is really frustrating.
Okay, yeah, it looked like it as well. It did look like a very good lap. So you know that time is there, and we hadn't even got to the corner where I think the most time to gain is, which is that one with all the space on the outside. So let's do it again. Let's just keep going until we get it. Nice entry. And get it turned in early into here. That's cool. Let's go. And early gas again. Early but smooth. So when I say early on the power, it's you still have to have some curve to the throttle, but you're doing it well.
The track temperature's decreasing.
So same here. Early power. Let's go.
Celsius.
Yes, well done. Really good. Nice, looking accurate. Let's go again. Fast exit. I can't see your delta, but to me that looked like a nice first couple of corners.
Up by 0.4.
Cool. It felt it. Okay, so smooth gas, get it over to the left, and then start to squeeze the gas early. You've got loads of room, go, go, go. Just use all the space. And again, we'll use even more next time. Even more throttle into there next time.
So there you really can just slam the gas, it seems like.
It's
as much as you can slam the gas.
yeah, exactly. It's not just like 0 to 100% throttle in an instant. It's not like a switch. But you can give it more earlier for sure. Because you've got the room to play with. Okay, let's do it again. So early gas now, go. So don't be afraid of that red sausage curb. If you've got the angle right, if you've angled it in a little bit later and it feels like you need to use the red bit, it's clearly not unsettling the car enough to be a problem. So what you did there was great. You just clipped it. You didn't go all 4 wheels off the inside or anything like that. You just nipped the inside. I think that much sausage curb is fine. Because you're doing it a little bit later, because you're more angled out of the corner, the line you just took there.
So it's interesting, I'm down, pay attention here.
It's alright, you can still make this work. You can still make this your best lap, I'm sure, if you nail the next section. So get it over to the left. Okay, so we didn't really get it back to the left that time. But that's okay. Cool, let's do another one. And then we'll have a little regroup and look at some data. Nice, that was on the edge. You were really on the edge of how much speed you can carry in there and still make it. But you did it. Might have just overslowed it a little bit that time. Okay, all the way to the left, good. And then just crack on with getting back on the gas, but smoothly. So that's nice. That was a decent effort. You looked like you were forced to use the track a bit more that time. Okay, good effort through there. That was really using the banking. Okay, this is fine. This is good. Let's go. Let's get it over the line. So maybe a tiny bit too quick into the final corner because you had to back off late, but great stuff into the 46s. And it was by no means perfect. Let's get on the gas early again here. Did you get an off track or was that okay?
It was okay, but it was
Cool.
slow.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's just because we were having to still back off near the exit, but... The ending to that lap looked significantly better than what we've seen so far. It was just, you stopped over slowing it and you like really let the car work through the final sector, which forced you out onto the parts of the track we wanted to be on. And your tyres are past their best at this point. You're still making it work, so it's good. Nice. So get it over to the left, even though you've had to go a bit wide. And then get on the gas more and more and more and more. Nice. You just have to be opening the steering and moving into that space, but you did it. Try this one in 4th gear this time, so just one down. Nicely done. Don't worry about that gravel, just keep going. So we'll just go in a tiny bit slower, but still in 4th gear next time. So carry that speed and let it run wide. Good. Again, don't enter the final corner too fast. Then you can get on the power early and hard. Use all the curb on the exit. You're doing a great job, man. Really good. Should we do one more, then we'll look at the data? If the tyres can hang on for another lap, let's do it. That's another 46. Early power. Let's go. I know it's gone a bit deep, but just go with it anyway. It might not be the best lap, but let's just see whether you can do that second half of the lap really well again, because you've done it twice in a row now.
The track temperature's rising. It's now 34 Celsius.
Track temperature's also getting a bit hot, so your tyres are wearing out, the track's a bit too hot, but you're still doing your quickest laps. Very brave on the way in there. Good entry speed. Oh, nearly. Nearly. Okay, I would park it there and just jump out. It was nearly perfect. Yeah, it looked like you were as well. It was nearly perfect, that exit. It was just, your throttle application was just a fraction ahead of the steering reduction, if that makes sense. You know, you were just a tiny bit ambitious with the amount of throttle. It wasn't terrible, though. It wasn't stupid. It was just a teeny bit greedy. But apart from that, great. And obviously the threshold was lower because the tyres were overheating a bit. So you probably could have got away with that 2 or 3 laps earlier. The good thing is, it looks like you've got the feel for a bit more how this should be feeling. On that previous lap, if I just scoot round to the bit that I wanted to show you. So your fastest lap in the end, which was the penultimate one you did there. The one where I told you to stay in 4th, going into that right that brings you back into the stadium section.
Yeah.
I think 4th is better. It's what I've been using. It stops you over slowing the car. So you're in 4th here. I just think we got on the power slightly too hard in the mid corner. That was all. We just needed like a 2 or 3 tenth of a second delay getting back on the power. You'd have then been like 10 meters further round, and then you'd have carried that speed and not run all the way wide. It was just that last minute understeer that kind of crept in, because you only went a little bit wide there. You would have made it. You'd have been that like half a car width in. So I would try and stay in 4th there next time. This looked really decent. It was just a heck of a lot better, that last lap. It was just really good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring up the data for it. And you were just not overslowing it into that long, fast-ish right-hander midway through the lap. So what's been your best lap so far up to then? The 5. So let's delete this one, because that was where you cut turn 1. And let's just add... it's easier if I just go the way I normally go. Let's just add the one you just did there. I know it says you got an off track, but that was just through that right-hander, so let's just keep that anyway.
Okay.
And this time we'll turn that one green. Okay, so let's have a look. So, as you said, you were down after turn 1. And we can see why. Because it's the one time you tried to go in quicker. Again, you tried to go through the middle of the corner at a slightly ambitious speed. If you look at when you braked, your peak brake was back here, and mine was back here. So you just tried to brake later than me, and I already felt I was pretty much on the limit. So you then suffered because you had to continue slowing down past the apex, and your minimum speed happened here. Like when you're exiting, you want your minimum speed to be right back at the apex so you can be on the power through the apex. And that's why I was repeating a few times, like, focus on your accuracy with the line in rather than your ballsiness on the way in. Like, because it feels like, oh, it's a fast right-hander. I'll gain time by just being brave, by just carrying the speed in and making it work. But the reality is you've just got a limit to the amount of grip you've got. And so you're just trying to take speed which isn't available to you, basically. So just bring that back a little bit. Bring the peak braking back a little bit, and you will just be quicker. And you knew, because you saw it on your Delta, you told me you were down there. So I'll also bring in your second quickest lap in a minute, and we'll compare that. But turn 1 wasn't great on that lap. So then what happens? Turn 2, bloody awesome. Look at that, absolutely mega. Like, really good. You're splitting between me and your previous best lap. Like, very closely matching me through turn 2. Mega. Into the hairpin. Okay, we had because you tried to brake a teeny bit later, you then were going a little bit quicker through the braking zone and probably felt the need to get it stopped a bit earlier. So you ended up overslowing, then coming off the brakes and getting it slowed again. Not the end of the world. Didn't lose a great deal. You just weren't quite as perfectly smooth as you had done previously. So there's still slightly later braking available to you, but if you do that and you're missing the corner, it's a false economy. So I wouldn't try and take chunks in the braking zone there. You're not going to gain a massive amount.
And it seems it's not a good consistency game to play.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if you happen to move it 1 meter later and then you get comfortable with that and then another meter, that's great. But then when we compare it to this next section, like, this is where you've got some big gains, I think. So let's have a look here. So into the left-hander, really matching me on the deceleration, like significantly better than you were before. But then we went a bit wide. So for whatever reason, we end up going a little bit wider than normal. Not terrible, but you did have to then delay the throttle because of that. So that's why we're a little bit slower here. But you have this lift much more similar to the shape of mine. I'm the blue line, obviously. When you look at what the blue line and the green line are doing, they're way more similar to what the red line's doing. And then on the exit, the blue line and the green line are also similar to each other and better than the red line. So you make this huge gain because of the distance you're travelling, which is still tighter than me, and the speed you're carrying on the exit. So, yeah, I mean, look at the way you're getting on the gas. Look at how your throttle trace is matching my throttle trace there. It's still smooth because from 0 to 100% is over the course of like 60, 70 meters or something. It's quite a long distance you're traveling as you're getting on the power. But before you had to wait, you were fully off the power that whole section and then getting on. So massive benefit, massive improvement. So that's really good. And I can see you did like a little nibble of the brakes there as well, but early. Whereas before, you were going in too quick and then having to brake late, and yeah, it was all bad. So you've nailed that now, within reason. Within a 1 hour session, you've nailed it. So just keep practicing it, and you'll maximise it. You'll exploit it more, like you're beginning to with turn 2. And then we move into this fast right, and on this occasion, we know I said it looked like you went through the middle too quick, and when you look at the speed, you are going like 10k quicker than me through the middle, which is why you then come off slower because you're like running off on the gravel. So big time loss there, even though that's your fastest lap of the session. So we've lost time in turn 1 and on the exit there, and it was still your quickest lap. So there's two mistakes on your very fastest lap of the session. You just fix them, and there's a bunch of time there as well. And then into our kind of banked hairpin, minimum speed still a little bit too quick, which is interesting. So you can still go in a bit faster, but slower in the middle, just there. Because that's why it's trying to just push wide. So don't go slow in the middle deliberately if you've also gone in too slow. but just try not to go in too slow. Just try and go in a bit quicker than you're going, but continue slowing down into the corner. You can see where the braking finished on the green trace here, and your braking finished on the green trace before my braking started on the blue trace. So that's quite a big difference there. So you did this little bit brake here, and I'm still doing it like here. So it's that bit in the middle to get it rotated. And then obviously you can see, because of my minimum speed there, you can see how much earlier I'm able to get to full throttle than the green, which just has to be that much smoother because you're already going a bit too quick. Final couple of corners, compared to the red, much better. Like, look how much faster you're going into here. Still weren't using all the track on the way round, but I'll let you off that because it's hard. You just have to keep practicing it and flow to that part. And then you came off the last corner quicker as well. The last corner wasn't perfect, but you made enough time in other areas, and you're a gear higher now, look, than you were before, which is great. That's really good. Yeah. Before we finish this, I'm going to just bring up your other fastest lap, so your second quickest, because it was quicker in different areas, wasn't it?
I think so.
So let's go for the 49.6. Sorry, 46.9. And let's... Okay, so this time we'll kill the red one, because we finished with that. And we'll make the new one red instead. So red is your second quickest lap. And yeah, so turn 1, massively better on that one. Like, way better.
Yeah.
Because you didn't go in quite as quick through the apex. You managed to just get it slowed a bit more. It was this here, actually. Look, you had a bit more trail braking, slightly more pressure here. But actually, you were still slightly too fast. So still through the braking phase, you're still trying to beat me and going quicker than me. But the difference was, on the red one, you got harder on the brakes a bit earlier, and you stayed harder on the brakes a little bit later. It's quite subtle, but that's why you managed to have your minimum speed here instead of here. But you still want it back here. So you're halfway there with that one. But if we go slower earlier, which I know is counterintuitive, but if you get it slowed even earlier, you'll be even quicker down the next straight. So it's quite clear that you're like 50% between those two different techniques. And then the rest of the track, I mean, again, pretty blooming good through there, through turn 2. You're so similar to yourself into the hairpin. Like, you had the overslow and then off and like kind of coasting around the middle. So we can still be a little bit faster in the braking zone and slow it down to a point at the apex. So you're slowing it down there, and I'm still slowing down until there. But, you know, like we said before, don't force it. Just let that one come, because you will lose more time if you're doing that in live sessions. And then through this little section, yeah, these two laps were quite similar, weren't they? You were a little bit better. You can see on the GPS, you're a little bit tighter on the red one, and that's where that time came. You're able to get on the power early. You weren't out on the curb going, oh shit, I'm going a bit too wide. You managed to just get the angle a little bit better through there, and then you came off roughly the same. So you had a little bit of a gain there, and basically the same through there. But you were slower through the middle of the fast right. You came off much better because you went off on the green one. If you could do the green one and not go off, then that's going to be significantly better. It was purely because you tried to go through the middle of the corner too fast on the green, on your very fastest one. And if you look at what you and me, so your 2 laps and me, are doing on the throttle, there's a reason you go wide on the green one, because you're on 35% gas when I'm on 0% gas. So you're going quicker than me, and you're higher on the throttle. So you're travelling faster, so the front tyres are doing more work, and you're asking for even more on the throttle, whereas I'm fully off. So there's a bit of a trend here. You're in a few of the fast corners, you've been trying to just carry too much speed. You've been trying to like force it by being a bit braver, and actually in reality, the accuracy, but coming off the corners quicker, is where the time is to be gained on this track, in this car.
Yeah.
And then final sector, not bad at all through the hairpin on that one. And then final 2 corners. We're all a bit of a mixture, but yeah, red line. You just went a bit too wide actually out the final corner there. That's why you had to get off. And again, it's here. You've tried to be too speedy on the way in.
Yeah.
And you're like what's that? You're 138 versus 122, it's like 15, 16 kilometers an hour faster than me through that middle phase, and that's why. And then I come off the corner and go down the next straight quicker because I'm slower on the way in. I know you hear this all the time in motorsport, you know, slow in, fast out, but it seems there's a few places here where it really makes a big difference. So,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
those are the key things. So, right, I'm going to make just a couple of notes on this before we finish. So I haven't really let you get a word in edgeways for a while, but I'm going to just write these things in here. Feel free to talk to me whilst I write these notes.
No, it definitely it feels like it's coming. It feels like it's coming. But yeah, I think that just getting that getting the car slowed and trying not to force that speed. One of the things that I'm wondering about learning a track, like getting fast on a track in a new car in real life. How do you like in the sim, if you go off, it's really not a big deal. Like, you know, like how do you judge how much pace to hold in the bag, because consistency and not causing thousands of dollars worth of damage is so much more important, and still be fast, right? Like I was out there the other day, and I felt safe, but I didn't feel fast, you know? And it's just, I was like, man, like there are these places where I know that I can get faster, but you know, I feel like I'd be close to the edge, and like, you know, sometimes, you know, if it's a car that I own, it doesn't matter so much, but if it's a car that somebody else owns, then that's kind of a, you know, a tough thing.
So you're asking how can you get closer to the limit in real life because there are consequences?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about how to combine it with the sim, I'd say forget that in the sim there's no consequences. Just use the sim to in terms of technique, find what the very fastest way is to approach a corner. Don't worry that sometimes you crash, because when you go in real life you switch mentally and you know there's danger and you know that there's risk, so you don't crash on the sim and push really hard and then go in real life and go, yeah, this is exactly the same, and then do it. It just doesn't happen. So use the sim to perfect the technique and figure out what is literally the best line through this corner. Like what works, what makes the dynamics of this car work best on this track. And then when you're out there in real life, you'll have a bigger safety margin because you'll be doing it better. You'll just be by using the optimal version of a line and throttle application technique through a particular corner or whatever, you'll just have a bigger safety margin because doing it right is also safer, if that makes sense. Obviously then the additional safety margin comes in just how late you're willing to brake or just how early you're able to get on the gas. But as long as you've got an idea what that is, you can build in the teeny additional margin that you need for reality. But what I've found, the thing I've done most between sim, like crossing over sim and real life, is Nürburgring practice. Load of relatively high level Nürburgring races on iRacing, like the NLS series or VLN, it used to be called, and then going out in real life and doing it for real. And I found I was doing things differently in real life because of what I'd learned on the sim. I was like, no, I know if I overtake someone on the exit here, I'm just a bit too compromised in the following corner. But I know that from the sim. I haven't done this move in real life on this corner, but it just was there. It was like in the back of your mind, and you just have a bit more of a muscle memory for, you know, when you're doing just fast laps. But I don't know. I don't know how else to put it other than be as perfect as you can in the sim and use the fact that you've got this superpower of no consequences. Use that to find what perfection is, and then try and just transfer that to the track. You'll have more of an expectation of how it's supposed to feel and look through a certain corner, and then you'll just automatically have a bigger margin for safety. Then you won't have to build in as much artificial safety margin. Like take the guesswork out of it by doing the practice in the virtual world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I'm working on my SCCA. I've got my novice license, and I'm working on my. You know, you have to complete a certain number of races. So I did a an arrive and drive, pay like rental type thing
Yeah.
for a spec racer Ford. And
Nice.
it's a fun car, man. I love it. Sequential gearbox, like really a blasted car. I wish I could afford one, but to get one with the sequential gearbox, it's like 40 to 50,000, which is just kind of too. I talked with my wife about it, and she was like, "Well, if you really want to do that, but think about all of the vacations we won't be able to do." And I was like, "Okay, that's a pretty clear message." I was like,
do I really need a holiday?
Yeah.
Don't you want to come holiday at Road Atlanta or somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I agree. It's a little bit too expensive, right? I mean, and just like if I crashed it, then if I totaled it, then I couldn't afford. Like, it would take me a couple of years to be able to afford to replace it, right? Which is like not ideal. But the funny thing about it is that I felt myself like there were corners that I was like, this is a flat out corner, but I could not bring myself to go flat out in that corner. And it was an interesting experience, like, because like I don't have that same thing when I ride mountain bikes, right? Like when I ride mountain bikes, I think that honestly, I think that I care more about costing myself a shit ton of money than I do about hurting myself, which is maybe a bad thing. But because like with the mountain bike, I mean, worst case scenario, I break the bike and it's just not as expensive as a car.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's been interesting getting more into the real life side of things. I mean, the more I do it, the more I love it. But it's sometimes the financial side of things is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and which is why I'm doing affordable rental karting. That's because there's no financial stress really, even if it gets written off, and the danger is low too. So.
I've got a question for you. So I've suckered my buddy into karting, and I'm trying to find him a good kart. Do you know anything about Praga karts?
I know of them, but I don't really know anything about them.
Okay.
I know they tend to be relatively good. They're just not very used. Not a lot of people use them, so it's difficult to tell how good they are. There's a guy who is the local champion of one of the tracks near me in Rotax, and he used a Praga, but everyone else used an OTK. So there's just so much more support and spare parts and online guides and setup help for an OTK. That's why I tend to go for that. All of the karts that finished in the top 10 in our series yesterday were OTK. And that doesn't mean it's because they're better necessarily. It's just it makes it easier to use it when you can just copy other people's setups and you can get spare parts and but yeah.
Well, there's another OTK. There's another 401 for sale, but the guys